Hey, this is Matt Wenning at WenningStrength.com, and today we're going to talk about the craziest squat session that I had ever seen. So let's go back to 2007 and let's talk about it. Now, in 2007, I was still training at Westside Barbell. We had one of the strongest groups ever assembled at that time. We had Chuck Vogelpohl, Greg Penora, Vlad Alhazov, myself, Mike Brown, and a handful of other guys that were insanely strong. The average squat of the group was well over 1,030 pounds. Okay? I do not believe that any other group would ever be assembled that will be that strong ever again. Completely insane. We had more world records in that gym, in that group, than most other gyms and other countries had in total, which is just out of control. So let's get to the squat session. So we're getting ready and prepping for the 2008, which would have been January meet, 2008 Pro-Am held in Columbus, Ohio. And when we get to that training session, Chuck has got this super setup with box squats and bands going on. We had a blue, another blue, and a silver. Now, for those of you that don't know what that band tension is, that is 400 pounds of blue band and 150 pounds in the silver band. So you already had to be insanely strong just to hop under the band tension alone. Now, we're working up, we do our little warm-ups, and everybody had their own little ways of doing stuff and warming up, right? We already had these warm-ups going on. And what we started to figure out was Vlad and Chuck and Greg were kind of all knopping at the bit to be the biggest one to squat that day. And what ended up happening was, Chuck, we started off with the bands, right? We had a plate for set 1. We had a plate for set 2. We had a plate for set 3. We had a plate for set 4. Now, most guys are starting to tap out. We're sitting around 900 pounds of total tension and weight combined, right? We're starting to get up to where guys are starting to struggle. Chuck goes to another plate. Now we're sitting at 1,000 pounds. So I think that was roughly one of my last sets. That was Greg, I think, did one more set. Remember, I'm not at the world record status yet. I'm a top 5. Vlad and Chuck end up being the only ones after 5 plates to maybe hit another set. Keep in mind, this was like 15 years ago, so I'm trying to remember exactly how the sets go. Chuck goes straight to another plate for the gizzard, right? Chuck stands up with it like an empty bar. Vlad stands up with it. He's unfamiliar with this type of weight training. He gets it, but he's off balance. He's off kilter. Chuck goes straight to another plate. Chuck, again, stands up with it like an empty bar. Totally insane. Vlad stands up with it. He's getting crooked, getting unstable. He still stands up with it. We're scared for our lives to even spot the weight. I was personally standing behind Vlad, and Vlad, the next set, can't even get up off the box. This is plate number, 7 or 8. What I remember the last weight being was over 1,300 pounds in band tension and weight combined. Chuck stands up with it again, grinding out one of the most impressive box squats I've ever seen in my life. It was 1,300 plus pounds. Vlad tries it 3 times and gets plastered. First time, basically dumps it on the spotters. Second time, gets it off the box an inch, sits back down. We're trying to figure out how to unload it and get it all off of him. He wants to try it again. Both Louie, myself, Greg, and Chuck are all telling him, don't try it, it's not worth it, blah, blah, blah. The point was that Vlad never got that squat. Now, this is actually really crazy because, one, we never really saw a lot of people, especially at that level, ever fail. So watching Vlad get plastered to this box and watch Chuck stand up with it, Chuck would just add a plate and get more intense, more insane, more intense, more insane. Vlad was still trying to figure out the particular ratios, trying to get everything situated, and got to understand too, with band tension, Vlad was about anywhere from 3 to 4 inches taller than Chuck. So we had another height discrepancy, which was giving Vlad more band tension. We never really counted that per se, but at the end of the day, 1,300 pound squats, 2 guys trying it. I tapped out somewhere around 1,100. Greg tapped out somewhere around 1,100 top weight. It was the hardest squat session we had ever seen. And Chuck, literally, I think that if he would have learned to stay more calm and tapered down correctly to do a competition, that Chuck would have been the first man to squat 1,300 pounds at around 265 to 275 body weight. Now, fast forward is that Vlad had a lot more experience in actual free weight squatting. So when we actually go to the contest, I remember Chuck bombing out, probably because he tried to kill everybody in the gym versus actually save himself for the contest. And Vlad squatted the all-time world record of 1250 in gear. I think the world record before that was like 1225. Vlad moved it to 1250, and in my opinion, is still in multiply the best squat over 1200 ever done. It was dunked 2 inches below parallel. It was perfect technique. And so the point is Vlad was one of those guys that was a meat lifter. He could show up at a meet. He could extremely just annihilate everyone. But in the gym, he could get crushed constantly. And I found that a lot of the great lifters, even if they failed in training, it never really affected their ability to do things at contests. Now, do I advise going to failure in the gym? No. But what I did find is that at the extreme competitive level of all-time world records, most guys that could fail, they could block it out and train the next day and not be an issue. So we'll try to dig up some pictures and some history, maybe get Vlad on a live feed on Instagram for you guys to give you guys some background story from the actual another person that would solve this particular squat scenario. But if you have any questions, email us or message us on Patreon, go on the website, and then leave some comments below. But like I said, I've been around 30 years, and that was the most intense squat session I have ever seen in my life. Everyone has nosebleed. People were falling out. There was 1,300 pounds of bar weight and band tension on the bar. We had world-class guys that were failing that couldn't do the lift. And it was just the competitive scenario and the competitive environment that particular group was that day was unmatched. So hope you guys enjoyed this story about the most intense squat session I've ever seen, and I'll talk to you guys later.